Hello everyone, and thanks for tuning in. If you enjoy stories about getting the last word, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Today's story is about Alara and the high price of asking for a little too much space. Alara had always believed their marriage was a collaboration, a structure they had designed and built together with meticulous care. 38, a successful architect in the rain-washed city of Seattle, she thought what they had was solid, foundational, a home built on the bedrock of shared history and unwavering trust. She had designed their actual house, a sleek modern box of glass and cedar nestled in a grove of fir trees in Magnolia, and she saw it as a physical manifestation of their union: clean lines, transparent walls, a view that went on forever. She and Maya had been married for 10 years, together for 12, and, in Alara's mind, the blueprint was perfect. Until that Tuesday evening in October, the one that smelled of damp earth and wood smoke, when Maya came home late from the office, set her briefcase down with a sound of finality, and announced that the entire structure was a lie. Everything Alara had meticulously built, every joint and beam she thought was secure, was about to come crashing down around her, and she was the only one who didn't see the demolition crew waiting just outside the door. She was competent, she was devoted, and she was completely, devastatingly unaware that she was already living in the ruins of her own life. The conversation started with the kind of vague, therapy-infused language that had been creeping into Maya's vocabulary for months. She spoke of her journey, of feeling misaligned with her authentic self, and of a profound need to interrogate her own narrative. Alara, ever the pragmatist, listened patiently from her spot on the charcoal gray sofa, nursing a glass of Cabernet and trying to translate this corporate wellness jargon into something emotionally tangible. She assumed it was stress. Maya, at 40, was a senior vice president of marketing at a booming tech startup, a world of relentless pressure and performative ambition that Alara found both fascinating and exhausting. She offered solutions: a vacation, maybe a long weekend in the San Juans, or even couples counseling if Maya felt they were drifting. Maya had just waved a dismissive hand, her movements languid and disconnected. "It's not us, Alara." "Not really. It's me. I feel trapped. Not by you, but by the life we've built. It's perfect. It's too perfect. I just need space." The words hung in the air of the cavernous living room, a room with 20-foot ceilings that Alara herself had designed to feel open and boundless. The irony was so thick it was suffocating. Space. In a 3,000-square-foot house. She'd felt a cold dread coiling in her stomach, a feeling like she was standing on a blueprint where the structural calculations were suddenly, fundamentally wrong. But she had loved her wife, and so she had nodded, her mind already racing through the logistics of giving someone you share a life with something as abstract and impossible as space. For the next 3 days, an uneasy truce settled over the house. Maya moved into the guest bedroom, a sterile space decorated in calming neutrals that now felt like a demilitarized zone. They were polite, considerate roommates, leaving coffee for each other in the pot and communicating via brief, cordial text messages about groceries and mail. Alara spent her time buried in work, refining the plans for a new public library, losing herself in the comforting certainty of load-bearing walls and building codes. She told herself this was a phase, a midlife crisis precipitated by a high-stress career. She believed Maya's narrative because the alternative was unthinkable. The alternative would mean that the foundation of their life wasn't sound, that the last 12 years had been a facade. On Friday afternoon, searching for a shared external hard drive to pull up some old project files, she went to Maya's home office. Her wife's work laptop was open on the desk, asleep. Alara tapped the spacebar to wake it, intending only to plug in the drive. But the screen didn't open to the desktop. It opened to iMessage, a river of bright blue and gray bubbles flowing between Maya and someone named Chloe. The last message, sent just 20 minutes prior, was from Chloe. "Is she buying the I need space thing? God, I can't wait until you get her out of there and I can move in. Think of the house parties we'll throw." Alara's breath hitched. Her heart hammered against her ribs, a frantic, trapped bird. She scrolled up. It was all there. A 6-month affair, meticulously documented. There were photos, sexually explicit and mundane, taken in hotel rooms in cities Maya had supposedly visited for conferences. There were long, flowing conversations mocking Alara's devotion, her predictable schedule, her taste in music. They called her the architect, as if she were a quaint, emotionless fixture in her own home. There were detailed plans, discussions about how to manipulate Alara into leaving, how to make it seem like her idea, so Maya could keep the house without a fight. The words that broke her weren't the declarations of love between Maya and Chloe, but a single, callous message from her wife. She's so trusting. It's almost sad. But the house is worth it. She designed my dream home. She just doesn't know it yet. The room began to spin. The air grew thin. Alara felt the floor beneath her give way, not like a collapse, but like a precise, deliberate demolition. She sank to the floor, not with a cry, but with a sudden, chilling silence. Alone. Completely alone. The shock was a physical blow, a nausea that rose from her gut and settled as a cold, heavy stone in her chest. For a full 10 minutes, she just sat there, surrounded by the evidence of her life's utter implosion. Then, the grief, a hot, searing wave, was replaced by something else. A cold, crystalline rage. The architect in her took over. The demolition was underway, but she would be the one directing the controlled explosion. She stood up, her movements stiff and robotic, and began to take pictures of the screen with her phone, documenting every single message. She would not be sad. She would be strategic. That weekend, while Maya was supposedly on a solo wellness retreat in the Cascades, a retreat Alara now knew consisted of a king-sized bed at the Salish Lodge with her 28-year-old subordinate. Alara made an appointment with the most notoriously relentless divorce attorney in Seattle. She sat in Catherine Sterling's minimalist office on Monday morning, a stark white space overlooking the gray expanse of Elliott Bay, and laid out the story with the dispassionate precision of a project manager outlining a design flaw. She presented the photos, the timelines, the financial statements she had already pulled, which showed thousands of dollars in charges for hotels, lavish dinners, and jewelry she had never received. Catherine, a woman with sharp eyes and an even sharper smile, listened without interruption. When Alara finished, Catherine leaned back in her leather chair. "Well," she said, her voice a low purr of professional glee, "your wife has made several critical and, frankly, stupid errors. The affair with a direct subordinate is an HR violation that will likely get her fired. The commingling of marital assets to fund the affair gives U.S. enormous leverage. And this house. Tell me about the house." Alara explained that while the mortgage was in both their names, the significant $200,000 down payment had come directly from an inheritance her grandmother had left her, a fact that was meticulously documented. Catherine's smile widened. "Perfect," she breathed. "She wants space. We're going to give her all the space she could possibly want, along with the crushing financial burden that comes with it." The plan they devised was simple, elegant, and brutal. Alara would play the part of the supportive, wounded wife, agreeing to move out to give Maya her precious space. She would let Maya believe she had won, that her manipulative plan had worked perfectly. They would draw up the paperwork, file it, and serve Maya only after Alara was safely out of the house and all their joint assets were frozen. For the next 2 weeks, Alara gave an Oscar-worthy performance. She was sad but understanding, speaking in hushed, gentle tones about finding a small apartment in Capitol Hill to give Maya the room she needed to find herself. Maya lapped it up, her sympathy so transparently false it was almost comical. She would hug Alara, her hands cool and brief on her back, and whisper things like, "This is for the best, you'll see. It's the most loving thing we can do for our relationship right now." Alara would just nod, her heart a block of ice, and think about the screenshots saved in a password-protected folder on her laptop. She packed her things with cold efficiency, boxing up not just her clothes and books, but every object that held a shred of sentimental value: the pottery they'd bought in Santa Fe, the painting from a gallery in Paris, the worn copy of a book of poetry Maya had given her on their first anniversary. Maya watched her, a look of barely concealed triumph on her face, even offering to help. "Don't worry about the big stuff," she said breezily one afternoon as Alara taped up a box. "Just take what you need. I can handle the house." "Oh, I know you can," Alara thought, the sardonic humor a bitter taste in her mouth. The day the movers came was a masterpiece of emotional theater. Alara cried, real tears this time, but they were tears of rage and release, not sorrow. Maya held her, her embrace feeling like a cage, and whispered reassurances. "You're so strong," she murmured, stroking Alara's hair. "I'm so proud of you for doing this." The moment the moving truck pulled away from the curb, Alara saw Maya pull out her phone, a wide, triumphant grin spreading across her face. She was no doubt texting Chloe, telling her the coast was clear. Alara drove not to a new apartment, but to a hotel downtown. She sat in the sterile quiet of the room, ordered room service, and sent a single text to Catherine Sterling: "I'm out. Go." The confrontation happened the following evening. Alara had asked Maya to meet her at the house under the pretense of signing some initial separation documents she'd drawn up. She wanted to do it there, in the space Maya had conspired to steal. When she arrived, the lights were on, music was playing, and 2 glasses of champagne sat on the marble kitchen island. Maya, dressed in a silk blouse and looking radiant, greeted her with a warm, pitying smile. "I thought we could toast to new beginnings," she said, her voice smooth as honey. "To us, for handling this with so much maturity." Alara didn't return the smile. She walked past her and placed a thick manila envelope on the counter, right next to the champagne flutes. "I have some documents for you to look at," she said, her voice devoid of all emotion. "But they're not the ones you're expecting." Maya's smile faltered. She picked up the envelope, her brow furrowed in confusion. She pulled out the contents. The first few pages were divorce papers, already filed. Her eyes widened. Then came the printouts of the text messages, page after page of them, her own words and Chloe's staring back at her in black and white. The color drained from her face. She looked up at Alara, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. It's not what you think," she stammered, the casual confidence of a moment ago completely shattered. "I can explain." Alara leaned against the opposite counter, her arms crossed. Can you? Can you explain the part where you call me the architect? Or the part where you detail your plan to manipulate me out of my own home? Or perhaps you can explain the $3,000 you spent at the Four Seasons in Vancouver on our anniversary weekend while I thought you were at a marketing summit. Please, Maya. Explain. Maya's defenses cycled through the predictable stages of a cornered liar. First came denial. "Those messages are taken out of context. Chloe is just a friend. We were joking." Alara simply raised an eyebrow. "Joking about what, exactly?" "The thread where you discussed how my inheritance made the down payment possible and how you'd have to find a way to secure the house in the divorce." Next came minimization. "It meant nothing, Alara. It was just a stupid fling. A mistake. My life with you is what's real." Alara gave a short, sharp laugh that held no humor. "The only thing that was real was your belief that I was too stupid to figure it out. You've been planning this for 6 months. That's not a mistake, Maya. That's a strategy." Then came the blame shifting, laced with the therapy speak she loved so much. "I was suffocating. You drove me to it. You were so focused on your work, on this perfect house. You never saw that I was drowning." "I didn't see it," Alara agreed, her voice dropping to an icy, precise whisper, "because you were a consummate liar. You didn't come to me and say you were unhappy. You didn't ask for counseling. You didn't do any of the things a person who respects their partner does. You started an affair with your subordinate and conspired to steal her home. You aren't a victim here. You're a predator who got caught." Finally, seeing that none of her tactics were working, came the desperate apologies. Tears streamed down Maya's face. She reached for Alara, her hands trembling. "I'm so sorry, Alara. Please. I love you. We can fix this. I'll end it with her. I'll do anything." Alara took a step back, out of her reach. "No," she said, the word a period at the end of a very long sentence. "We can't fix this. You can't fix this. I spoke to my lawyer. I've already filed. This marriage is over. It was over the moment you decided I was an obstacle to be managed rather than a partner to be cherished. The final blow was delivered with surgical precision. You said you needed space, Alara continued, her voice calm and steady as Maya sobbed. So I'm giving it to you. I'm not going to fight you for the house. You can have it. Maya looked up, a flicker of hope and confusion in her tear-filled eyes. You mean it? Alara nodded. I do. You can have all 3,000 square feet of it. You can also have the $5,000 a month mortgage payment, the property taxes, and the upkeep, all on your own. My lawyer will be petitioning the court to have you assume the full mortgage in exchange for me relinquishing my claim. Since the down payment was my separate property, you'll also have to buy out my half of the accrued equity, which comes to about $150,000. I wonder how you'll afford that after your company's HR department receives an anonymous tip with evidence that you've been violating the company's fraternization policy with a junior employee. I hear they take that sort of thing very seriously. Maya's face went white. The reality of her situation crashed down on her. The house wasn't a prize, it was an anchor that would drown her. You can't do this, she whispered, her voice cracking with desperation. Alara, please. Alara picked up her purse from the counter. I'm not doing anything, Maya. I'm just letting the consequences of your actions play out. You built this. You can live in it. She walked to the front door, the door she had chosen the perfect shade of charcoal gray for, and paused with her hand on the handle. She looked back at her wife, a broken, weeping figure in the middle of the beautiful, empty room. There was no triumph in it, only a profound, aching sadness for the woman she thought she had married. Goodbye, Maya, she said softly, and walked out without looking back, closing the door on her old life for the last time. The aftermath was a rapid, cascading demolition of Maya's life. Just as Catherine had predicted, the anonymous email to her company's HR department, complete with a few choice screenshots, resulted in an immediate investigation. Within a week, Maya was fired for gross misconduct and violating her executive ethics clause. Chloe, when confronted, threw Maya under the bus completely, claiming Maya had been her superior and she had felt pressured. She kept her job, but was quietly transferred to a different department, her own reputation tarnished. She immediately blocked Maya's number and disappeared from her life, a coward to the very end. Without her six-figure salary, the house was an impossibility. She couldn't afford the mortgage, let alone the buyout of Alara's equity. The bank began foreclosure proceedings within 3 months. Her social circle, once they heard the full story, evaporated. Friends they had shared for a decade sided with Alara, disgusted by the calculated nature of Maya's betrayal. Even her own parents called Alara to apologize for their daughter's behavior. Maya was left with nothing but the echo-filled rooms of a house she couldn't keep, a career in ruins, and the bitter taste of her own meticulously laid, and spectacularly failed, plans. The divorce was finalized in 6 months, with the judge awarding Alara everything she had asked for, citing Maya's egregious financial misconduct and marital infidelity. 18 months later, Alara was sitting at an outdoor cafe in Fremont, sketching in her notebook. The sun, a rare and welcome sight in Seattle, warmed her face. She had taken her share of the assets and opened her own boutique architectural firm, specializing in sustainable, minimalist design. It was thriving. She lived in a chic, airy loft overlooking Lake Union, a space she had renovated herself, a space that was entirely her own. She was dating again, a kind, funny history professor who made her laugh and who viewed relationships as a partnership, not a hostile takeover. She was healing. She was happy. A voice, hesitant and familiar, pulled her from her thoughts. Alara. She looked up. It was Maya. She looked diminished. The expensive, tailored clothes were gone, replaced by worn jeans and a faded jacket. Her hair was unkempt, and there were dark circles under her eyes. She was holding a coffee cup from the cafe, likely working there. Can I talk to you for a second?" she asked, her voice thin. Alara felt a pang, not of pity, but of a distant, clinical sadness. She gestured to the empty chair opposite her. "Okay," Maya sat, wringing her hands. I wanted to say I'm sorry, she began, the words tumbling out in a rushed, rehearsed speech. For everything. I was selfish and cruel, and I destroyed the most beautiful thing in my life. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't regret it. I lost everything. I deserve to. Alara listened, her expression unreadable. When Maya finished, a hopeful, desperate look on her face, Alara simply nodded. Thank you for the apology, Maya. I appreciate it. She closed her sketchbook and stood up, gathering her things. I hope you find what you're looking for. Maya's face fell. That's it. That's it, Alara confirmed, her voice gentle but unshakably firm. My life is good now. I've moved on. The door is closed. It's going to stay closed. She gave a small, final nod, turned and walked away into the bright afternoon sun, not looking back. She was no longer the architect of their shared life, but the sole designer of her own, and the foundation was, at long last, unbreakable. Thank you for listening to this story. If you connected with Alara's journey to reclaim her life, please leave a like and a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next one.